Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Forge. I will not sing, I apologize. Welcome back for the last time today with the quarterback rankings, my bread and butter, the most refined projections of mine. And I just want to show you them in full as they look up on the website, www.theFFForge, where you can find all of my updated rankings, as the ones today are mostly just my preliminary rankings and projections, as well as I get them finished. And they will be up on the website at some point on Thursday or Friday. Until then, these are the rankings as is. And so we will just hide these so we can see my actual rankings. These are the projections. Over here is the thermometer, the thermostat ranking, giving you an idea of how good the matchup is or is not. Are factors working in favor of these players hitting their ceilings, or are they working against them and working in favor of them hitting a floor? Those are the types of things that right over here this temperature gauge will tell you. And then the floors and the ceilings and the expected range, I think, are all fairly self-explanatory. So one thing I wanted to point out here, Kenny Pickett way up here. My rankings didn't know what to make of him. I've never seen such confusing advanced stats in my life. I thought of just averaging out some of his stuff for, whatever the case. I put them in as they were from his half game played. And actually, I gave him a whole game played. If I would have given him a half game played, my stats, I think, would have thought that he could get 6 rushing touchdowns in a game. So, 3 is probably not going to happen again, yet, let alone 6. So his stats were all over the place, and I just wanted to see what would happen and where he would rank in the end. So you can see, hey, man, Kenny Pickett's a boom or bust player this week, and that's that could be true, except he's playing up against Buffalo, right? I hope since I got rid of those team names to make room here, I may not remember all the matchups. Yeah, not the week I want to be playing him. As you can see, just ice cold there. That is the darkest. That is the worst matchup of the week. Let's just get onto the rankings. The top 12 start off with Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. Mixed them up just a little bit from where they were on my projections. But who cares? It doesn't matter what order they're in. You're starting those 4 for sure. Then Joe Burrow did move up a little bit over Jared Goff, Zach Wilson, and Kenny Pickett compared to the projections. I think we can all understand why, and do like him this week. It's a solid matchup for him. Derek Carr, similar thing, even brighter red over there in the thermostat. So things are looking good for him. I really, really hate quarterback this year. I hate all projections this year so far. It's been a weird year for compared to expectations, and just generally fantasy scoring's down in the league. So it's things have not settled in yet, and maybe this is the new norm for this year. Maybe some of these guys like Jared Goff are going to be making our top 12 every darn week. On to the back end of the top 12, Tom Brady, Justin Herbert. I believe I moved him up from my projections because he has had where did he go in the projections there? What, about 12th? Moved him up to 8th there. Like the matchup, I think he's had a week where he got injured. That's going to hurt his projections a little bit, at least some of the numbers. But also he's coming. After he got injured, I brought up that he was not going to be the same Justin Herbert for 2 to 3 weeks. We should be entering week 3 right now, so I would expect for him to begin to look more like the Justin Herbert that we have known since he came into the league, and be all the way there by next week. So expecting that turn around the corner here this week for him. Then Dak Prescott, I projected him. He may not actually start this week. It was sounding almost like a for sure thing 2 weeks ago, and last week I think too. But it looks like maybe that original timeline might be a little more realistic than what the hope was for Dak in recent weeks. Jared Goff, following him up, did back Jared Goff up a few spots. I think that's in part due to the matchup going up against New England this week, if I am not mistaken. I am not mistaken. Going up against New England, and just figure there's going to be less scoring for that offense, even if they score every time that they get the ball this week, just because New England's going to be sucking up some of that clock. Then Russell Wilson in at 11. We're seeing that team, at least last week, started to turn the corner and get a little bit better. And sure, I'll give him the green light there at 11. Projections haven't quite caught up to that yet, but as you can see, the floor is nice there. So I do like that. And a ceiling's all right. Then on to Zach Wilson in my top 12. So a little bit of trust in the projections, a little bit of trust in what we saw in week 1. His numbers weren't actually very bad. I don't know how many of us got to watch him play, but his catchable throw percentage was quite high. So that's a big improvement from last season. And he's got more weapons, and he'll be another week in. He did have a limited practice here on Wednesday, but Wednesday injury reports we're not looking into too much. Then Geno Smith at 13, do believe moved him back a little bit. Bit of a surprise here in fantasy so far. Don't love the ceiling, but do like the floor. Not a great week for him, though, so I was comfortable not having him in the top 12 like he was in the projections, followed by Trevor Lawrence, and this just starts to come to questions for other guys, like Kyler Murray. Absolutely hate him this week. Now, I may end up moving him up a little bit as I look into Philadelphia's defensive situation. If I recall correctly, they have had their own Buffalo defensive issues with injuries. I think they lost 2 linebackers last week, maybe an offensive lineman, but on defense they've lost a fair amount of guys over the last couple of weeks, so that may make things a little bit easier for Arizona, which I would be happy with, because I don't think I'm going to be picking up a quarterback to play over Kyler Murray as much as I would like to. I just would rather hold on to my def pieces. I don't have anybody that I'm willing to cut for a quarterback. And my projections have evened out on Carson Wentz over the last 4 weeks, but still liked him a fair bit this week, and I'm on board with that. I do like Washington this week as much as I am expecting to get burned by them again, but you got to go with what you got to go with, and it should be a solid week for that offense to get things turning around a little bit again. Ryan Tannehill's been all right this season. So Aaron Rodgers is, that team's going to start to get a little bit better each week, as they should. Just moved him up a little ways, but I don't hate where he was projected either. Last week, I laughed at the fact that Matthew Stafford was at the bottom of projections, and I moved him up in my rankings a fair bit more than the projections, because I was like, well, that's just ridiculous, even with how he's played so far this season. Well, that's just how it goes. Sometimes I have to trust these projections, because every time I want to laugh at them for something, I get proven wrong. Of course, then when I buy into something like a Carson Wentz in the projections, then I get made a fool of for believing the projections. But whatever the case, have Aaron just had a certain comfort level with Aaron over some guys. Like Teddy Bridgewater, if you needed a ceiling play, I would take Teddy over Aaron for sure. He did come in up ahead of Aaron Rodgers in the projections, and I don't disagree with that, actually. I rather like Teddy this week going up against the New York Jets. Anything else? So Jacoby Brissett's just a safe guy. No real ceiling hope there. Jameis Winston, don't even know if he'll be playing this week, but if he is, do like the matchup. So put him up ahead of Matthew Stafford, essentially was what ended up going with there. And Kirk Cousins ends up falling back. I still feel a little bit more comfortable with Matt Stafford than Kirk Cousins in a matchup against Chicago, where I'd expect the ceiling to be better for Matt Stafford, but it's not a good matchup for Kirk Cousins, but it's also not the world's worst. What is his thermometer? Yeah, it's a little bit according to here, it's a little bit better than Matt Stafford's actually, but my real world self says Matt Stafford. Then Daniel Jones, a guy I brought up in the waiver wires that I would feel more comfortable with having over like a Justin Fields. And so I do have him ranked just like that as well. Not a terrible matchup going up against Green Bay. Got to say floor. And he is injured, but he was expected to be practicing today, or at least in a limited fashion. Other than that, we're into any surprises down here. Marcus Mariota, how the mighty have fallen. Just can't be trusting that the amount of usage there for Marcus Mariota. And then when you combine the fact that he's going up against Tampa Bay, really just not loving it. And Matt Ryan being all the way down here, hopefully things turn around. He actually had a pretty decent fantasy week. I was a little surprised to see him this far down in the ranking, in the projections. I just couldn't really come up with much of an argument to bring him up. And, Kenny Pickett, I saved a little bit of room. I'd take that upside over these guys is essentially what it is. But I understand if you disagree with Matt Ryan. That is it for the quarterback rankings. That is it for the day's rankings. You can find all of these up on the website, www.theffforge.com, once I get them up there, which will probably not be until Friday, but could be tomorrow. That's it. Thank you very much for stopping by.